Good afternoon. This is Elizabeth Knoll with the American Gas Association. I appreciate everyone that has been able to log in successfully this time and for round 2 of our webinar on the DOE Home Energy Score program. Today we're going to do things just slightly differently. We're going to kick it off. Joan Glickman from U.S. Department of Energy is going to speak briefly, and then Glenn Dickey is going to run through the software demonstration, which many of you were interested in seeing, and then we'll close with Jerry Ryan talking about New Jersey Natural Gas's program, and Joan giving us an overview of the program with the Q&A at the end. Just briefly on logistics, we are going to be recording this. I know that for many of you it might have been difficult last minute to participate in this webinar, so we will be recording it and then distributing it to those that registered so they could watch it at their leisure. And then we're going to hold all questions to the end. Feel free to submit questions through the GoToWebinar chat box, and then at the end we can also open up your line if you raise your hand, and you can ask a question that way as well. And I think with that, I can turn it over now to Joan to kick off the webinar.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and thanks to everyone for calling in again today. We're excited that many of you sound like you're interested in learning more about the Home Energy Score, obviously, and we'd love to have you join on as a partner. I'm going to tell you really quickly about the Home Energy Score and then turn it over to Glenn, because I know some of you are just calling in to see the demonstration that we weren't able to do last week. So just to give you a context, the Home Energy Score is something we created over the last few years. It's meant to be basically like a miles per gallon sticker that you get on a car when you buy it. Same idea for a home. So what we do is we look at the home's assets, its foundation, its overall structure, insulation, ducts, and then the major energy systems in the home, heating, cooling, and hot water. And we do a calculation using DOE2, which is a energy simulation tool. We estimate how much energy that home will likely use under standard operating conditions, so that you can basically do a apples-to-apples comparison between different homes. And obviously we take into account the weather, climate conditions in that area before converting it to a point on the 10-point scale. The score, as you can see on this page, shows you a before and after score. The after is based on improvements either that we provide or that the assessor can provide in terms of how much energy savings you would achieve with those improvements, so how much your score would improve. It's meant to be a low-cost option. Obviously, given that DOE created it, it is free to use. The tool is free. There's also, we can talk about this later, but there's also an API which allows it to be used with other software tools if you choose to use it that way. And we do have requirements for the assessors to make sure that they are qualified to collect the information correctly. They go through training and all that, and I will go through that in more detail after Glenn runs through the tool. So let me turn it over to Glenn Dickey.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a slide I have to look at first, Courtney?
Let me see. Go ahead, Glenn.
So the goal we're trying to reach here is that we have something that's reliable, transparent. As Joan said, it is free, and that it's easy to use. As things stand right now, if you're doing this just as a home energy score, it's not part of some other program, you're collecting all of the data just for home energy score, it shouldn't take more than about an hour to do that. If you're doing it as part of something else, the additional data collection shouldn't take more than about 15 minutes. We do calculate the score based on source energy as opposed to site, and we are continuously working on customizing this so that it's more useful to our partners so that they get out of it what they need. And then, Courtney, I guess you have to turn it over for me to see my screen.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is just quickly go through this. I'm going to take a couple of shortcuts just to avoid some of the couple of those slow points in this. So you start off by entering the address of the building, and because I've used this address before, it pre-populates. And then click on Validate Address. The system will confirm that that is a legitimate address. If it comes up without a confirmation, the assessor will be asked whether that is the correct address. If it is, they can override it. They can go ahead and accept it. Otherwise, if it does confirm, then it will go ahead and start. Now, I've already started one. The confirmation takes a few additional seconds, so I'm going to skip that step and go straight to a blank one that I started before and just step through this. I'm not going to quite run, but I'm going to do a fairly quick run through here. So we just enter the information about the house. So when it was built, number of stories above grade. I'm sorry, that's the number of bedrooms, the number of stories above grade, interior ceiling height, the condition to floor area, which direction does the house face. Then here you can enter blower door data. If you've got the blower door information, then you would click that a blower door test was done, and that and then enter the CFM50 number. If no blower door test was done, then you would click no, but then indicate whether any air sealing work has been, any professionally done air sealing work has been done. If they've caulked the windows and put in some weather stripping, that doesn't count. If they've done a complete air seal package on the house, then it would. In this case, we're going to say that we've done a blower door test and that we got 3,500 CFM50 in that test. Then we characterize the roof. In general, we're just looking at a standard shingled roof with no insulation on the underside. We also collect how dark the roof is. So this is a number between 0.1 and 1. In the new version, we're actually going to choose colors rather than numbers. How much insulation is in the attic? What type of foundation do we have? And I'm going to choose a vented crawl space here. As you saw, I chose an unconditioned attic up there. We're going to say there's no insulation there. If you've got a conditioned basement or a slab on grade, then you would indicate the appropriate insulation levels for your subgrade slab or subgrade foundation. In this case, we're going to say vented crawl and that there's no insulation there. I'm kind of working with a worst case scenario sort of house so that you can see sort of the full scale of recommendations that are going to come from this. If the walls are the same on all four sides, then we'll click yes here. If they're not, then you click no, and you'll have to enter the data for all four sides individually. So the frame type, so of course a wood frame or a structural brick or concrete. What's the outside finish? So standard brick veneer siding, stucco, we'll choose wood. And then what's the insulation level? As you can see, these are all drop down, so we provide some rules to the assessors as to what to use if they don't line up exactly. If you have skylights, then you would click yes and provide the information there. We're going to click no here. We're going to enter some window areas on the front, the back, the left, and the right. And then again, if you've got different window types, then you'll characterize them individually by side of the house. If they're the same on all sides, then you only need to characterize them once. If you have U factors in SHGC, so typically if you're doing new construction, you might have the U factors in the SHGCs. You can actually enter those here, but we'll just characterize them individually or by component. And then the last screen is our heating, cooling, and hot water systems. Here we can enter either the efficiency value, the AFUE in the case of gas or propane or oil. If you don't know that, you can use an installed year. This gives a system-weighted or a shipment-weighted average. If you've got any idea of the efficiency, we suggest you use that. And the same thing with the air conditioning. Enter the SEER here or an install date if you don't have any idea on the efficiency. An indication of where are the ducts. Are they insulated? Actually, again, I'm going to make this kind of a worst case. And are they sealed? What kind of hot water system do we have? And again, either an install date or an energy factor. If you've got a boiler system, then the system also asks what kind of connection is there between the water heater and the boiler. The next step is to view the summary, so you get a review of all of the data entry points. And if everything's right, then you go ahead and click Generate Label, and this is what you end up with. So as you can see, I do have an extreme case here. So the house scores a 1 as is, and if you implement all the improvements on the last page, then it will score a 7, and there'll be about a $16,000 10-year estimated savings. So this is the first page. The second page is the data that was entered into the house. So this is the general data about the house. It does give the total energy in MBTUs. Again, this is the source energy. And then the breakdown on site energy in unit appropriate values based on the fuel that's used in the house. Then again, the additional information about the house, our leakage rate, our components and their R values, our window sizes and their characteristics. Again, the heating, cooling, and hot water systems, ducts. And then we get our recommendations page. So again, because I made this sort of a worst case, we get a general idea of all of the improvements that would be recommended. So insulating and air sealing your ducts, insulating and air sealing the attic and the walls. We've got a breakdown here too between a repair now and a replace later. So these are the things that should be done immediately. They typically aren't going to be done as part of a change out or something like that. These things are the things that should be done when you go to replace your furnace or your water heater or your siding or your windows. And then we also give some carbon improvement information there. The cutoff on the improvements here are based on the repair nows are based on the highest improvement that will give you a 10-year payback. So if, for example, R60 was a 12-year payback, then this would have fallen back to an R49. And that's basically the tool. That's the software input and the output that comes from the tool. And I will be here at the end for any questions about that. And I think I turn it back over to Joan at this point.
Great. Thank you so much, Glenn. And I know since some people were calling in specifically for this, Courtney, if anybody wants to raise their hand now, you can interrupt me and we can ask Glenn questions. So I think you can show if you have a question, and again, you can also type in a question and we can read it off to the group and then answer it. So I'm going to go on to the slides, and again, if there's questions, we can try to take those now. So this all started a few years ago. It was something that was done out of the Vice President's office initially, and the feeling was that we were putting a lot of money into weatherization, like $5 billion through the Recovery Act, and we wanted to make sure that we were training a ton of people that way as well, and we wanted to make sure that there was something we could do to encourage improvements in the general, among the general public, among the wealth of homeowners out there that have great opportunities to improve their homes and take advantage of energy efficiency, but just aren't doing so for a variety of reasons. And one of the reasons that we thought was standing in the way of making the improvements was, while there's lots of information there, it's sometimes hard to find something that's quick, easy, relatively sheep to get, and also has a clear message. And so the idea was that, I'm sorry, my screen went dead. The idea was that we wanted to create something that you would have consistently across the country, could be used by anyone who was qualified to do so, could provide this to a homeowner. So we can go on to the next slide. So since coming up with the tool a few years ago, we did a lot of testing through pilots initially, and then we've been working with some terrific partners around the country over the course of the last year to get homes scored. And New Jersey Natural Gas has been really an outstanding partner, and we'll hear later from Jerry. Jerry and Susan have done a great job there in implementing the program. So through partners like them, they have scored over 5,000 homes, I think, since last September. We have 165 qualified assessors now, and what that means is that these individuals are qualified to use the scoring tool and to actually score homes in the field. There are a number of states that have expressed interest and are looking at adopting the score statewide, not as something that's mandatory, but that's something that they're strongly encouraging by homeowners and also at point of sale. As I mentioned very quickly at the beginning, there is something called application programming interface that other software developers can use to automatically link to our tool. So basically they can feed the information from their own software tool into the scoring tool and then generate a score. So they're using the same algorithms and everything that we have in our tool, but it basically reduces the data entry process for them. We've done a lot of outreach to our partners. We have monthly webinars with them. We have periodic calls with the assessors to make sure that there's that we're addressing any technical issues that might be coming up with the tool. And of course, there's day-to-day support that our team here offers to the managers and the utilities around the country who are engaged in implementing the program. We have account managers that they each are assigned to. And there's significant improvements that we've been making to the scoring tool. While we thought it was a really good tool to begin with, and we've already tested it, we did learn a tremendous amount in this first year of real implementation of the program. And a couple things that came up were that first, we were having some issues with larger homes. Basically, large homes were generally scoring very poorly because the metric that's used to score the home is total source energy for the home, given standard assumptions about how it's being operated. That said, what we were including in that was all the plug load and types of energy that we do not include in terms of what you can change to affect your score. And so now what we're doing is we're pulling that piece out of it and just scoring homes directly on heating, cooling, and hot water. So it does allow greater mobility along the scale. And that was really the other issue that we had, was that in extreme cases like the one that Glenn just showed, there was a great amount of ability. If you have a home that's incredibly leaky and not up to date, then there's great opportunity. But what we were finding was it was still hard for a number of homes to move more than 1 or 2 points, and that's not really the message we want to give people. We want to give them 2 messages. One is that there's a great opportunity to make improvements to your home, so moving along the scale is possible. And second, there still is a distinction among homes, even if you make improvements. When you're buying a home, some homes just use more energy than others and are likely to use more energy. So it's still useful to know that one's a 9, one's a 7, one's a 3, so that you can take that into consideration. Not that it will be ultimately a huge impact on what you're doing, but it's certainly something that you should be aware of at point of sale. Next slide. So this is just a map of our partners around the country. As you can see, we're working with utilities, but also state and local governments, nonprofit organizations and non-governmental organizations that are carrying out efficiency programs. We are also working with a couple associations of home inspectors who have some inspectors who are qualified to use the tool. So I'm going to turn it over to Jerry in just a second. We're going to go through a few ways that different partners of ours are using the home energy score and incorporated it into their existing programs. And let's hear from Jerry about what they're doing in New Jersey to integrate it into their efforts. So next slide, Bernie. Thanks.
Okay, I'm Jerry Ryan with New Jersey Natural Gas, and New Jersey Natural Gas is a LDC in New Jersey, mostly along the Jersey Shore, but we have a small piece in northern New Jersey, and we total about 500,000 customers. Primarily, they're residential customers. Our commercial base is mostly small commercial, so this works as a very good fit for the programs that we're offering. We started a Save Green project in 2009, and we learned a lot through the program. We have about 40 BPI certified contractors in our service territory who participate in home performance, and those customers who choose those contractors seem to be motivated to do energy efficiency work. What we realized was we had a larger pool of contractors and a very much larger pool of customers who participated in our rebate programs. And we were trying to figure a way to get those customers to take additional measures. So the slide we have in front of us are programs that we offer. We have a $500 grant for a high-efficiency furnace and a boiler. We started this year a $6,500 0% 5-year on-bill repayment program. And we also offer a proactive whole house assessment where a customer can choose a New Jersey Natural Gas auditor to go out and assess their home. One of the fortunate things of our program is we have 12 in-house New Jersey Natural Gas auditors that are all BPI certified and come from a wide range of residential construction background. So in order to motivate these customers to take additional measures, move into home performance, we got together with Home Energy Score and started to use the score at first kind of experimentally to see how customers would react to that, and we tried to gain understanding by using that. And we had all of our assessors, auditors, New Jersey Natural Gas auditors trained in using the Home Energy Score. And so we've learned a lot by doing that, and we're trying to motivate customers. We're using the score as motivation for customers to take additional measures, and then they can take advantage, if you look at the bottom of this slide, of our 10-year on-bill repayment program. We have a 10-year program at 0%. So if we could go to the next slide. So we use the Home Energy Score as a motivator to encourage customers to take advantage of the next step, which would be the on-bill repayment program. And when the auditor finishes his audit, they have a sit-down or a discussion with the homeowners, and the message is you've taken a great first step. These customers have replaced most likely a furnace or a boiler, some a hot water heater, and the auditor is trying to say that that step is a great step, but there are additional measures to maximize the use of that equipment. And in the process of their audit, we were already gathering a lot of information. To implement the Home Energy Score really only took about another 10 to 15 minutes of our auditor's time. They do the scoring of the home and then deliver that score to the homeowner at the conclusion of the audit. And we like the score because it shows a very simple scale, a very quick, easy message back to the customer where their home is on the range of the score and where they can get to. Can we go to the next slide, please? So one of the things along the way that has been very valuable to us is that DOE provides back to us monthly the data that we've collected through our auditors. And we've collected an awful lot of information. We know average house size, for instance. We know how many customers who have replaced a furnace or a boiler that may still have an electric hot water heater. how old those systems are. So a lot of the data that we're collecting, that we're getting back, previously we had been putting a lot of information into another data system. We weren't able to retrieve a lot of that data. So DOE is providing us some very valuable data so we can evaluate our program and try to move forward even when we try to create new programs or look at the success of what we're doing. And along the way, Joan and her team and Glenn, we've had conversations about problems that we've run into with the score, things that we saw. Two of the things Joan already mentioned, the larger house sizes. The other thing that we were noticing was we were having some conflicts initially about some of the recommendations that were coming out. And DOE has worked and developed a way that we can customize the recommendations to align with our programs and the things that we're trying to offer. So the partnership has been a great partnership. We're learning a lot using the score. The customers seem to receive the scores well. We've been working on the dialogue for the auditors when they deliver the score, and we've had good success with it. The fact that it uses source energy is helpful when we model homes. So part of that communication, back to the customer, being a natural gas utility is very important. And that's pretty much how we've implemented and been using the score. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Jerry. We really appreciate it. So again, feel free to write in your questions or raise your hand, and Courtney can unmute you. So I'm just going to go through a few other options that we've seen partners use. Obviously, this is just a discrete number of them. There's other ways you could use Home Energy Score, but this is just to give you an idea. Certainly you can use it as part of a whole home efficiency program. If you're a Home Performance with Energy Star utility that offers that, we hope that it is a motivating investment, and we're doing analysis to see that and to see whether or not that's happening. And I can talk to anybody who's interested in about that as well. So one of our partners, Columbia Water and Light in Missouri, has had a lot of success here in using this way. And again, it's basically a way to communicate what you want to communicate to a homeowner anyway, which is that you want them to invest in a whole home retrofit or in specific improvements, and this is a way to hopefully convince them that it brings some value to their home, not just something that you can't see, like insulation. Next example. Here, there's some programs that, if you're going out to a home anyway to do, shower head replacement or something like that, you're already in the home, or you have somebody qualified in the home who could collect additional information about the home and easily provide the Home Energy Score as a piece to engage the homeowner in a discussion about, why it would make sense to do something more. And it's also, as Jerry said, an easy way for you to collect data about the homes that you're going into anyway. And we have a couple organizations that are using this approach. Next slide. Lastly, this is something we haven't done a lot on yet, but when a homeowner or a home buyer calls you to sign up as a new utility customer, it might be something that you'd want to offer since they're going to be moving into a home. One of the things that we know from data is that homeowners spend a lot of money in the first year that they're in a home, and certainly before they move in, they paint, they do other types of things that would be less convenient to do once they're in the home. And we think it's a great opportunity to show them that this is something, that energy efficiency is one of the things they should be thinking about. The comfort of the home, the usability of their home, the efficiency of the home is something they should consider when they're moving in. So the Home Energy Score can be something that can provide that extra push in that direction. The next slide is just showing you, as I mentioned, we have software developers that are using the API to connect to the tool, and this is a picture of a handheld application that one of our partners, our software partners, is using, or has developed, I should say, and some of our partners are testing it right now. so you can use this on a variety of different handheld devices when you're walking through the home. The next slide is just showing you some of the graphics and other materials that we provide to our partners to help them get started and to move forward in promoting the home energy score. You certainly aren't required to use any of these, but we make them available to you to put on your web or to provide to homeowners or to provide to your assessors for their cards to make it easy and something uniform that they can provide to give you a sense of branding. And clearly, our partners put their own seals and own logos on these things as well, so that's something that we would encourage. And you can put your logo as well on there's a place for that on the score itself if you choose to do so. Next slide. So just to sort of summarize, some of the benefits that we think we can help utilities take advantage of is, obviously, it's free and easy to use the score. It's a great way to easily collect data and then help you analyze it, or you can do your own analysis. We do analysis as well. You can customize the type of score report that you're planning to provide, and we are always seeking input from our partners about what ways they would like additional customization opportunities and other ways that they would like to use the tool or materials, and we try to be responsive to their needs. I think it's a great way to converse not only with national experts from our labs and have that opportunity, but it's a great way to also, through our monthly webinars, we try to feature what different partners are doing in their area, and it's a great way to connect to other utilities and other partners around the country and see what kinds of things are leading to their success. For the homeowner, we think there's a lot of benefits in helping you with your relationship with your customers. It's a way to provide a simple motivational message. It's something that has DOE's name on it so that it's known to be something that's consistent nationally. You can certainly use it in concert with different forms of recognition, whether it's something you want to give people a bumper sticker saying they raised their score, or a mug or whatever it is. It's a way that people can be recognized for something that typically is not that visible. Improvements to your home in terms of energy efficiency, it's just not as interesting as redoing your kitchen or your bathroom or painting. And so it's a way to make it something tangible and also something actionable by providing recommendations with the score, whether you use ours or your own. It's something that helps the homeowner take action immediately. Next slide. We think it's pretty simple. We've tried to make it pretty simple for partners to join. There's like a 2-page partnership agreement that you have to sign. We ask you to develop an implementation plan that we've developed a template for that just asks you a bunch of questions about how you're planning to integrate it into your programs, how you're planning to carry out the QA requirements. We do ask that partners commit to scoring at least 200 homes a year. Clearly that has been something easily achieved by New Jersey and some of our other partners. We ask that you rescore with another qualified person, go out and rescore 5% of the homes that you score, just so that we can check that it's being done in a consistent way, and you also can get a sense of whether you need to provide additional training to any of your assessors. We would obviously tell you if we see a problem in terms of what results are coming in if they're not consistent. And on an ongoing basis, we ask that you proctor the exam. It's free. It's online. It's not a big hurdle, but we do ask that you do that for the assessors in your area that you want to participate. And we encourage participation in our monthly calls and webinars. Next slide. We think it's a great time to join because we are releasing a new and improved scoring tool with a new and improved scoring method. The scale, as I said, we're making changes to the scale in particular to allow greater mobility. We are bringing in a bunch of experts actually at this time from Yale and from some behavioral science organizations that are helping us learn what really are the best kinds of messaging we can include with this score that could motivate greater investment and improvements. So that's something we obviously will share with our partners. We're improving the training and testing, and we may actually be able to change our current requirements. We currently require that the assessors either are BPI certified energy building analysts or HERS raters, in addition to passing our test. And we're doing a study right now to see if we can basically not have that initial requirement. So if you're not using BPI certified auditors or raters, that you still would be able to allow contractors in your area to use the tool. And we are always making improvements to the program and also to the tool. We'll be including other technologies, renewables in the next version, and we, as I said, we try to be responsive. If you see something that's missing from the tool that you really think is important, we certainly would be open to discussing that with any of you. So last slide is just for more information. You can see 2 email addresses here that we would encourage you to contact us on. I should mention that in addition to the home energy score, we have a comparable type of tool that you can use on commercial buildings. That one's not quite as far along. We're in the pilot testing phase of that. So if you have a commercial building program that you're trying to reach out to those types of customers, we'd love to work with you on that. And with that, I will turn it over to any questions that we have.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joan. So far, we have 2 questions. As a reminder, if you all would like to ask a question on the line, feel free to click the raise hand button, and I would be happy to unmute your line. You can also submit questions through the question box, and I will read them on the line for you. So our first question is, does the program focus on new construction and multifamily?
You can use this on new homes, although some home builders, I think, are going to probably stick with HERS, the reason being that it's a more granular scale and they can probably differentiate their homes if they're, if they're doing something that's really state-of-the-art or going well beyond code. I think a lot of new home builders are already familiar with HERS, and that is a very viable and useful tool. HERS doesn't really work as well on new homes because it is comparing homes to code. I'm sorry? It doesn't work very well on existing homes. I apologize, somebody just corrected me. Because it's comparing them to more recent code, 2006 IUCC code, and it's also very expensive to do. So while you can use the home energy score on new homes, we think that many are still going to continue to use HERS in that capacity. But we certainly would, it's completely usable on new homes. In terms of multifamily, it can be used on townhomes, and if Glenn's still on the phone, he can remind me if it can be used yet on up to 4 units. We do have, on the commercial side, anything that's 4 units, 4 stories or greater, I should say, can be scored using the commercial building tool. Glenn, do you want to add to that?
You can do 4 units as a whole building, but not as individual units.
Okay.
Okay, and the second question, Joan, I had was about comparing home energy score to HERS, so I think you just answered that. But if you had anything else you wanted to add.
So basically, as I said, home energy score is a lot cheaper to do. You're not creating a baseline building for that home, which, in HERS, you're basically looking at what that home would be if it was built to 2006 code, and then comparing it, the actual building that's being built, compared to that code. So either it's better or worse. If it's better, it scores under 100. If it's worse, then it scores over 100. And that can be useful. The home energy score metric is source energy per home under standard conditions. So a very large home will still probably not score terribly well on our scale. It could score well in terms of maybe a 7 or 8. But if it's very, very large, it's unlikely it would score, a 10, because it's not a per square foot metric. Do we have any other questions?
At this time, we don't. So maybe we can give it another minute or so. And if you think of questions after the webinar, like Joan said, please feel free to email us, and I can pass those on to either our technical team or I can pass them on to Joan. We're also happy to send out partner packets to anybody that's interested. So that includes an overview slide similar to what you saw today, but there is some additional information in the packet. It includes our implementation plan. It includes the partner agreement, if you'd like to see that, as well as some other resources. So if you'd like to receive that, please feel free to email homeenergyscore@ee.doe.gov, and I would be happy to send that to you. And with that, Joan, it looks like we don't have any more questions coming in.
Okay. Well, if anybody, as Courtney said, feel free to contact us, or you can also contact Elizabeth at AGA. We really appreciate AGA's willingness to host another one of these webinars. Sorry it didn't work last week. And again, thank you to New Jersey Natural Gas for being such a great partner.